Good morning, this is still Jeremy and I am at Ōsaka Station, which is, as you might imagine, in Ōsaka, Japan. This is the biggest station in Ōsaka, of course. Many train lines come here, and what I'm doing today is a little bit of an experiment, because there is this train that goes directly from Ōsaka Station all the way to this place called Tsuruga, which I've never heard of and never been to. Never heard of it before about 2 weeks ago when I started planning this trip. So there's a train that goes there. It takes about 80 minutes. It's very nice and comfortable. It goes through Kyoto and beside Lake Biwa. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to Tsuruga, but I'm not going on that train. Why spend 80 minutes on a train when you can spend 8 hours on a train? What I'm doing is I'm taking a series of about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trains, 8 transfers. The point of all this is because somebody left a comment, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. I'll try to find it and put it up here, that asked, are all Japanese trains really always on time to the second? And my initial reaction was, well, no, not to the second, maybe. Sometimes they're late, but maybe to the minute generally. But I wanted to try this because I wanted to test it. So here's what I'm doing. Ōsaka to Tennoji, Tennoji to Oji, Oji to Takada, Takada to Nara, Nara to Kamo, Kamo to Tsuge, Tsuge to Kusatsu, Kusatsu to Omishiotsu, and Omishiotsu to Tsuruga. I have a lot of transfers to make, and they're in stations that I've never been to before. So if any one of these trains is like significantly late, or even a few minutes late sometimes, the whole thing will crumble apart. So it's about 8:08 here, according to this fountain thingy. And the first train is at 8:34. Let's go find it. I'm here a little bit early. There are trains that I could take now to Tennoji, but I'm going to wait. I want to take my train, which is 8:34, because I want to see if my trains that I wrote on a piece of paper, drinking coffee at 7-Eleven this morning, I want to see if those specific trains are all on time. That's the goal here. Things started well. The 8:34 from Ōsaka Station arrived right on time. As the long train on the Ōsaka Loop Line screeched to a halt and the doors opened, I watched the regular crowds of Ōsaka people, even on an early Saturday morning, spilling out of the car. And I wondered what the trains the rest of the day, after I was outside of Ōsaka, would be like. Would the trains have fewer cars? Would there be a bunch of empty seats on them? Would the arrival of a train be both less of an event because of fewer passengers in rural areas, and more of one since there aren't that many trains? And most of all, would every single departure and arrival be on time, to the minute? Tsutenkaku Tower, the symbol of South Ōsaka, passed by as we neared Tennoji Station.
We will soon be arriving at Tennoji.
These would be the last glimpses of neighborhoods I know well, and of the trains I've always relied on here in the city. We arrived at Tennoji on time, 8:54 exactly. I had 7 minutes to make this transfer, which is plenty if you know where you're going. But Tennoji has 18 platforms, and to move between them you have to figure out yours, go up the stairs and find it, and then run down the stairs to it. No room for errors. I found my platform fine, and my 9:01 train seemed to be on time. Stay weird, Ōsaka. Next stop, Oji Station in Nara Prefecture. And wouldn't you know it, this train was on time too. And it had forward-facing seats instead of benches, which is always nice. But in the spirit of social distancing, I didn't share with anyone, preferring to stand and watch the buildings gradually get smaller and less skyscrapery as we neared Oji. Only 4 platforms here at Oji Station, but it's still quite a hike to find the 9:26 train I'm taking to Takada. A train which left right on time. So far so good, JR. I was still in a busy enough area that the announcements on the train were in Japanese and English.
The next stop is Takada.
And even Chinese, I think.
下一站甜甜
And I think this is Korean. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
다음 역은 하타케다. 하타케다입니다.
And now we're talking impressive green misty mountains down here in Nara. We arrived on time in Takada on this train line that is rural enough that you have to open the door by yourself. Takada seemed pleasant, but the day's whole excursion became threatened in this small town in the middle of nowhere. Okay. I'll let me try to explain. We're sort of at a stopping point here. Not a stopping point, we're at a little rest area. My train is at 10:27. which this means this is the first chance I've had to sort of not have a very, very tight transfer, because there aren't that many trains, not that many frequent trains. They're not that frequent trains here in this area. Whatever I'm trying to say, you understand. So I have about a 45-minute wait here, something like that. So I'm going to first go find a bathroom so I can take my basal insulin shot, which is an hour late. And then I don't know what I'm going to do. I could either...
See, I was getting confused and tongue-tied while filming this. It would turn out that my blood sugar was very low, and I had no idea, so I didn't take care of it.
Happening now, here in Takada. Yes, that's true. That's what I'm going to do. Do you know what I'm talking about? If you know what I'm talking about, please leave a comment, because I'm not sure what I'm talking about. Okay, of course I decided to exit the station and take a look around. I have half an hour. I do have a goal, actually. I need to go to some kind of convenience store, find some food for lunch. It's not lunchtime yet, but I think when it is lunchtime, I will be on trains. Or at least in a train station or something that I don't have time to leave. So I'll wander around this town, which is called Takada. See if I can find some kind of convenience store. I could look on Google Maps, of course, and find one, but that's no fun. I want to walk around and find it myself. Well, I've already passed 2 chiropractors. Seems to be a guy peeing in the corner. Ah, small town life. Okay. Need any cool clocks? I know where you can go. Or eyeglasses or magnifying glasses. I see water. Whenever I see water, I go to it. Some kind of primal magnetic draw to water. Or maybe it's a primal photographic draw, because I think it'll be photogenic. Is that cool? Sorry. But the real star of this plaza seems to be over here. What is going on here? I guess this place is famous for clocks. Is this like a gigantic clock? Is that the point? Well, I guess it does that at 10 o'clock maybe. Oh, lucky timing. Used junk, that is my kind of store right there. What is that? Laser disc shaped like a record? Arigato, Nakajima Miyuki. I don't know what that is. Alice 8, Candace, Beyond, Saturday Night Fever. The Tigers. Oh, wow. Will-o'-the-Wisp. Night in the Ruts by Aerosmith. That's all right. I might actually consider buying that, but I don't want to carry a record around all day. Coming from Osaka as I do, I'm used to convenience stores being every 10 feet. They're just not, it's not like that here. I finally found a Lawson, and after buying lunch for later, I sat at their counter for a check, and I was shocked by the number. Feels a bit low. I bet it's low. I bet it's 62. 37.
Luckily, I always travel with glucose powder to eat and juice to drink. A 37 calls for both.
I'm inhaling glucose powder. Okay, back to the station. All right, I'm in some danger of missing this train. Your blood sugar's 37, you don't want to get a lot of exercise. Had some juice and glucose powder. but it's not working yet. It takes 10 or 15 minutes for that to work. So, a little woozy, but okay. My train leaves here in about 4 minutes.
Hurrying with an extremely low blood sugar is not pleasant, but I made it, and I jumped onto my local conductorless train. We were bound for the big Nara station and departed Aerosmith Town right on time. Perfect so far. The trip by now was taking on its own peculiar character, as trips always do. The mysterious and the quirky and the rural and the uniquely Japanese aspects of the landscape rolled by on this, the Manyo Maharoba line. It's my first time on this line, which has the best name of all of them today, Manyo Maharoba. We pulled into Nara on time, and I found my 11:20 train leaving in 10 minutes. Not only did it show up and depart right on schedule, but I even got my own private forward-facing seat. The scenery on the short ride to Kamo wasn't super fascinating, but at least we arrived right at 11:34. Unfortunately, Kamo Station is where things started to fall apart for JR and I, and it's all JR's fault.
This is Kamo. This is Kamo Station. I have been here before a couple times, so it feels like being home. I have 8 minutes to transfer to my next train, and it's going to be about an hour on that train. It's a bench seat. It's a very, very local, little rickety line. It's a lot of fun. After I get to the next station, which is Tsuge, I will eat lunch at the station, I think. I have 20-minute transfer. Anyway, let's go find the platform for the next train on the Kansai Line for Tsuge.
It started fine. My 11:42 showed up on time and we all got on. But just before leaving, the driver made an announcement reminding passengers that train cards with IC chips weren't accepted at the next few stations. So everyone who'd arrived from somewhere else using such a card had to line up to pay the driver in cash while he wrote out receipts. I myself had used such a card at Takada, but I was only passing through the area, so I was okay. But a long line of people formed, and it took a long time to process them all. We were never leaving at 11:42. Finally, the driver was ready. He made his last-minute checks and started his final announcements and took care of one last IC card-using straggler, and we were off, 15 minutes late. This line is called the Kansai Line, and I'd been on it twice, both times for YouTube videos, which I'll link to in the description box. And I really like this line. At the first station, Kasagi, nearly everyone, all those wrong card users, got off, and I had the two-car train almost to myself. Apparently everyone was going to go mass camping beside this river. So, almost an hour later, when we arrived at Tsuge, the 15 minutes late was now 8 minutes late. I was impressed by the driver's skill at making up some of the time, even on a curvy, meandering line through the woods. A master at his craft. My next train, leaving for Kusatsu in 15 minutes, was sitting waiting for me across the platform, and there weren't many others on board. I had time for another check. 1:22, perfect. And finally, my Lawson lunch.
Cold chicken. Fools.
We left on time, the chaos of the last train schedule behind us forever. Dear JR, install a card reader on the Kansai Line already.
Okay, I just got off this green train here at Kusatsu Station. So far, everything's been pretty much on time, except for that one train. They're not batting 1,000, but it's all worked out so far. I have about half an hour here at this station. I'm probably not going to leave this station. Nothing like having a lunch and then relaxing afternoon train ride through the countryside to make you very, very sleepy. So I'm also going to try to find maybe a coffee. This station may be big enough where there is a store inside the station. This is the greatest train trip there's ever been. Okay, found my platform, and I bought not one, not two replacement juice for when I was low, but 3 beverages. This is a hot coffee. You know what that thing when you hold like a hot thing and a cold thing in your hand at the same time, and your brain gets confused and thinks you're being burned? Your hand's like holding something like super duper hot. That's what it's like when I hold both of these. Ah! That's just some of the fun you can have when you're traveling by train here in Japan. Anyway, it's a hot coffee in a can. Will wake me right up, I'm sure. The next part is very important, I think. This is the last big train. There's this one's a little bit over an hour I'll be on this train. I believe I will have a nice forward-facing seat to sit in, unless it's full of people. But there are seats, I think. Not bench seats. This train is going to go right on the east side of Lake Biwa, which I've never been to. And I think there are places where it goes close enough that you can actually see the water, and maybe even like right on the water. So I hope that's true. I can get some footage of that. I hope if I can get a seat on that side of the train. Wish me luck. The train will be here. This is not my train. My train will be here in about 20 minutes. Everything's going well. See you on the train.
And in case you're curious how I got footage for this video, some of it was my iPhone 6S, some was done with my Insta360 camera and a $1 tripod grip thing, and some of it was with my Canon DSLR. And it's especially nice when you're recording and suddenly something unexpected passes by. Did you see that too? Sitting on the idle train at Maibara Station for a few minutes, I got a peek at the Shinkansen bullet train also passing through and whisking important people to important places at high speeds. I wasn't jealous. Who needs a frantic pace when you have wide open spaces and no real destination? And speaking of the appeal of remote train journeys, I was of two minds as we pulled into the penultimate station, Omishiotsu, on time. Today's journey would soon be satisfied. I'd soon have my results from this experiment, but the fun would be over.
Well, this is Omishiotsu Station. This station looked like a bigger deal on the map. It is not a big deal. I have half an hour here. What am I going to do here for half an hour? There's like 30 houses, and that looks like it's about it around here. And I don't feel like leaving the station just for that, so I guess I'm just going to pace around the platform.
I'm glad I did go wandering. Not only was I on the wrong platform, but the station was down this spooky staircase like something out of an industrial haunted house. The station itself was friendlier at least.
Okay, I found my proper platform, so go ahead and do what I said and walk out to the very end of this platform. Just because there's not much else to do, and because we're in the mountains here, sort of, very low-lying hills and mountains. The air is very cool, because it's late October, and it's probably very fresh air, especially compared to what I'm used to in Osaka. So, delicious. What you do is you go all the way out here, and then you go, huh, and then you turn around and you go back to the platform. Even in English, the sign says, stop. Okay, if all goes well, the final train will be here in about 2 minutes. It will take 14 minutes. Then we can tally up the totals. How did the trains behave today?
The day's final train came on time as I and another train-focused videographer watched its arrival. Killjoy signs be damned. We'll film whatever we want, thank you very much. I got my own seat again, and right at 4:01, we were off. The late afternoon sky was looking dramatic up here in Fukui Prefecture, and as we pulled into Tsuruga Station, the final one on this epic rail adventure, JR had one more amazing trick up its sleeve. We were due to arrive at 4:15.
Okay, I can't think of a more fitting end to this excursion. We're 1 minute early. The final train arrived 1 minute early here in Tsuruga. My first time in something called Tsuruga. Okay, so all the trains were on time exactly. This one was 1 minute early arriving, except for one, the one on the Kansai Line. But that didn't make me miss my train. So all in all, excellent job. So those are the results, and the conclusion is, at least today, at least on these lines, pretty good. Hope that answers your question. Are Japanese trains always on time? Not always, but you can plan some tight transfers and usually be okay. Thanks for watching. Please go here to subscribe to my newsletter. You can watch these videos before everybody else. And I see my hotel already. It's right near the station. So I'll see you next time.
The next day I went back to Ōsaka on the Thunderbird, that expensive and direct train on the other side of the lake that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It wasn't going to be part of this vlog, so I didn't film much of it, but my ticket was for a train leaving Tsuruga at 11:16 and arriving at Ōsaka at 12:37. Well, look at our status as we neared Ōsaka. 23 minutes late. All those little trains yesterday were mostly on time, and this frequent premium service was late, and more so than anything yesterday. Tourists are unlikely to be on any of yesterday's routes, but certainly might be on this Thunderbird. So, are Japanese trains always on time? No.